I have awesome memories at my time at Mastery Rank 4, running around all over the place with my friends, not understanding half the things that were going on, and that's just putting it lightly. Here's the Akzani, a weapon I never really used before. I glanced over it and kind of ignored it. But today I'm gonna use it as an excuse to create a new player guide. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today I'm gonna be having my full-blown new player approach. So in case you're a veteran, you're probably gonna know many of the things which I point out. In your case, you might want to skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Akzani. Let's begin by having a quick look at how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that we're just gonna be taking a couple of free shots. The Akzani are a pair of automatic hit scan pistols, and as you can see, it's the bullet hose kind of style. You're gonna be able to unload that magazine of 100 relatively quickly, and this is unmodded. The problem lies, however, in the accuracy of the pistols. As you can see, a lot of the bullets are landing completely outside of the crosshairs. Another problem would be ammo, unless you want to use something like ammo mutation, which is not really recommended. I hate sacrificing a mod for something like that. So here's another option. You can use ammo squad restore. Of course, nobody likes to use that either. Well, not a lot of people. So you can go into carrier together with ammo case, and this will solve all your ammo issues. Keep in mind that carrier does come with ammo case, so you don't need to go out of your way to get it. Next, we're gonna be jumping into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is gonna be 30 out of 30 as soon as you build your Akzani. In order to get the most out of basically any weapon, you need to jump into actions and install an Orokin catalyst. Now this one will double your mod capacity, and you can get an Orokin catalyst for 20 plat, or you can get it from Nightwave. It appears also sometimes on alerts after dev streams, and you can also get a blueprint from the daily sortie. Now if you're MR 4, 5, 6, something like that, you shouldn't be getting access to the sortie just yet, but progress further through the main storyline and you will. Next, let's talk about Forma. My weapon has been formatted a total of 5 times, but I only do this because I have a whole bunch of mod combinations which I need to test, Rivens, and so on and so forth. For the weapon build I'm recommending you guys, free Forma should do it. It's worth keeping in mind that the Akzani by default comes with 1 minus or Naramon polarity. I changed that one into a V. Accuracy 16.7, which is not all that hot to be honest. If I was to slap on something like Magnum Force, this used to be a trash mod, not anymore. It's not particularly fantastic, but it is usable. This is a corrupted mod. It gives you something, but it also takes a little bit of something. Minus 55% accuracy for 165% extra damage. If you don't know how to farm corrupted mods, it's really easy guys, link in the cards right now. So with a resulting accuracy of 8.7, considering how the weapon handled before, I'm gonna advise against Magnum Force. Critical chance 14% with a critical multi of 2.0x. Now the critical multi is decent. This is a decent critical multiplier. The problem is that base critical chance only 14%. It's barely usable. A fire rate of 20, which is pretty good. Magazine 100, noise alarming. Reload of 2 seconds, again decent. And this is the saving grace of the Akzani. The Riven disposition of 5 out of 5. If you don't know what's up with these Riven mods, I got a full tutorial on them, link in the cards right now. The point is that we're gonna be able to use extremely powerful Rivens on the Akzani. The weapon not being very popular, that's why we get that sky high Riven disposition of 5 out of 5, and that's how we're gonna be able to make the Akzani into a competitive weapon. But more on that just a tad later. Status chance 14%, again a tad low. And when it comes to the damage on the weapon, you got the full IPS, impact, puncture, and slash. These are the physical types, and the highest amount by far is gonna be puncture. Now puncture is not a bad physical type. It deals extra damage to heavily armored targets such as the Grenier. It deals extra damage to ferrite armor and to alloy armor as well. Now the status proc of puncture has nothing to do with the damage it deals. Keep that one in mind. The status proc unfortunately is only the enemies dealing less damage to you, which is useful in certain situations, but for the most part a lot of players prefer to have weapons which are high in slash damage, and impact currently is seen kind of like the plague. Now let's start modding the weapon. We're gonna go with Hornet Strike. This is flat damage, 220%. Keep in mind that Hornet Strike will also increase the elemental damage you put on the weapon. Now if you're just starting out in Warframe, maybe you're MR 5, 6, 7, something like that, and you don't have a whole lot of endo, it's fine to leave Hornet Strike about 2 points from the top until you get more and more endo. Next we're gonna be going to multi-shot, Battle Diffusion as well as Lethal Torrent. Battle Diffusion is pretty common, but Lethal Torrent drops from Nightmare missions. From the trade chat you're looking at a maximum of 10 plat, honestly don't pay more than 10. 60% multi-shot and 120% multi-shot, totaling 180. So what does multi-shot do anyway? It means that we're gonna be able to fire multiple bullets at a touch of a button. 180% multi-shot will mean that I got a guaranteed second bullet and an 80% chance at a third bullet. So basically multi-shot right now again is the best thing on everything. Do prioritize these mods. Next we're gonna go to critical chance and critical damage and see what kind of effect we're gonna be getting on the weapon. We're gonna be using normal mods initially, and then we're gonna go to prime mods for the reason that not everybody has prime mods. Pistol Gambit, 120% critical chance. This one only requires very little endo to max out, so do try to max this one out long before you max out Hornet Strike. 30.8% critical chance with Point Strike, and veterans will now be looking and saying, "Paw, that's so weak." And you know what? They would be kinda right. This is not really all that powerful, but it is still worth going for critical chance and critical damage on the Akzani instead of piling on more of the same multiplier, because the more you pile on in Warframe, the less you're gonna be getting. Critical damage with Target Cracker, only 60% critical damage. Next, we're gonna talk about elemental damage in general in Warframe. Now, this should be applied depending on your own circumstances. Where are you going? Who are you fighting? For example, if you're going up against Corpus, building the elemental combination of gas is a very good idea, or just flat out toxin damage. When you're going up against Grenier, now these are heavily armored targets, and against them, the best bet is always corrosive, electricity and toxin. But keep in mind that many Grenier units are also equipped with alloy armor. In that case, you might want to go for radiation damage. Why should you build an elemental type versus a specific type of enemy is over on the wiki. In the case of the Grenier, for example, ferrite armor takes more damage from corrosive, 75% more. And alloy armor takes more damage from radiation, again 75% more. Why I encourage corrosive is the status proc that it provides. It will reduce the enemy's armor on a status proc. That means that your subsequent shots will be dealing more and more damage. And I honestly hope that wasn't too confusing. So let's build some of that corrosive, electricity and toxin. Which should I go for, the 90 mods or the 60-60 mods? Honestly, there is no question here, you should be going for the 60-60 mods. The weapon will be performing a whole lot better with the 60s. The problem is Jolt. Jolt can only be obtained from Battle Key tier, the Void Trader, and it comes every couple of months or so. From the trade chat, this one can go up to 100 plat. And if you're just starting out in Warframe, you may not have that kind of plat. If you don't have Jolt, simply replace it with Convulsion. However, when we're talking about Toxin, that's a different kettle of fish, because Pistol Pestilence is a whole lot more common. Maximum of 10 plat from the trade chat, and you can farm it from Corrupted Vor. Honestly, there's no excuse in not having this one. And we still have one more mod slot left on the weapon. I made my corrosive 127. Now we're going to be talking again a bit about IPS and procs. You might be saying that corrosive has the highest chance to proc. Normally in Warframe, the values that you see here are not only your damage values, but are also proc values. There's only one rule that kind of breaks that whole logic. IPS, impact, puncture, and slash, the physical types, have a 4 times greater chance at proccing over elemental types such as heat, cold, electricity, corrosive, whatever you guys want. So in essence, in order to get the true proc priority, I need to visually multiply IPS with 4, which will mean that puncture is way in front of corrosive. In order to upset this just a little bit, I can increase the corrosive value on my weapon with something like Convulsion. Now keep in mind, these are basic rules that you can apply to any element, not necessarily just corrosive. With 223 corrosive, I am gonna be getting a lot more corrosive procs, but it's still not proc priority number 1. And here are a couple of additional good mods. Seeker with 2.1 meters worth of punch through. Now punch through in Warframe, depending on the weapon that you use it on, can work just a tad kooky. Link in the cards right now for a full demonstration on punch through. I like to see it as a form of AoE because your bullets are gonna be going through your initial target and can hit multiple, so that's huge value. But it's not always the case. It's true that in Warframe, a lot of enemies kind of line up single file, and then you're going to be getting tremendous value out of punch through. But there are times when you simply don't get any value out of punch through. So it's entirely up to you. You can also consider Magnum Force again, but only for super close range shots. This is the initial build we're going to be testing, and once again, if you do not have Jolt, you can replace it with either Convulsion or Pathogen rounds. Now let's see what the weapon can do. We're going to be spawning in some corrupted heavy gunners, and initially I'm going to go with level 60, then we're going to ramp it up, simply because level 60 is way higher than something like an MR45 would see, or better said should see anyway. So let's see how the weapon does. And as you can see, the weapon can tear through these targets like a hot knife through butter. And again, you're not gonna see these targets just about anywhere. The weapon can deal a tremendous amount of damage for the low mastery requirement that it has. And as you can see, you're gonna have no issue in completely dispatching these targets. Now I'm gonna pause just a little on this guy. Take a look at the procs he has. There are 3 little symbols and you're gonna have to learn these symbols over time. Puncture, corrosive, impact, all of them in order to understand exactly what you're doing to that target. The corrosive symbol tells me that I already stripped some of that armor away, so my subsequent shots will be dealing more and more. Honestly, in Warframe, this debuff bar really is not ideal, but there we go, that's what we have to work with. So against level 60s, the weapon was absolutely amazing. It was able to tear through them like a hot knife through butter. But let's amp up the ante to level 120, and this is wait an hour and a half in Kuva in order to get enemies such as this. And let's see how the Akzani performs against some real high level targets. And you will see that the story has changed quite a bit. I'm struggling to kill 120 with a single clip out of the Akzani. I'm still getting plenty of corrosive procs, and you know, from my point of view, considering the MR4 requirement of the weapon, being able to kill one of these high level targets is good enough for me. You will see that the health bar on this guy turned to red, while the other guys still have it at orange. This is an indication that all of the armor that this target has been stripped away, or 99 point something. When something like this happens, the surface, let's say, yes, the surface that you're shooting has changed its properties. It no longer has ferrite armor, so your corrosive damage no longer has that 75% bonus. Now, this is something you shouldn't really worry about on the Akzani, honestly, but I thought it might be useful to know. So as you can see, when it comes to higher level targets, the weapon can struggle just a little bit. However, we're going to be turning to that saving grace of the weapon, that high Riven disposition, in order to get a whole lot better performance out of the weapon. You gotta work with what you have for the most part. So let's take a look at this Riven setup. In essence, is the same setup as before, only I replaced the normal mods with prime mods, prime target cracker and prime pistol gambit. And instead of the 90 elemental mod, we went for this fantastic Riven. Now check out the stats on this thing. Critical damage, damage toxin, and minus puncture. Absolutely beautiful. And you might say that, that negative takes away some of your damage. And you would be correct. It completely removes all the puncture from the weapon. But it's actually a blessing more than it is a curse. Remember what we talked about when it comes to status chance, status procs, and all that good stuff? Well, with puncture completely off the table of procs, it makes way for my corrosive to proc a whole lot more consistently. So it's actually quite the great Riven. The critical damage, however, I can't really leverage all that well with a 40% critical chance, but we're gonna be able to take care of that with some arcanes just a tad later. But for now, let's see how the weapon performs without any Warframe buffs with a Riven of 5 out of 5. Pretty good roll too. Now let's see. Oh yeah, 40 bullets to completely annihilate one of these targets, and this is an MR4 weapon. This is what Rivens were for, at least what they were for initially, in order to balance out weapons, to give weapons such as the Akzani, which are not very popular, not very powerful, a fighting chance to compete. And as you can see, in the case of the Akzani, that is totally possible. And believe it or not, we can do a whole lot better than this if we take into account Warframe buffs. Now this is subjective, but of course we're going to be using the ever so lovely Lady Mirage Prime for totally objective reasons. Yeah. We're gonna hop on over to this build. You can use auras to increase the damage of your weapons. For example, if you want to use a pistol, you can use Pistol Lamp, 27% extra damage. Keep in mind that this is an aura, so everybody in your party will be granted this benefit as long as they're within your affinity range, as far as I remember. But in any case, the point here is that 27% is simply not a whole lot, especially when your base damage is not really all that high. So keep that one in mind. We're going to be talking about arcanes next, and this is something more of future-proofing, if you will, something to look out for when you're higher in mastery rank and you start doing your Eidolon hunting. These are some very powerful augments that you can use on your Warframe and some other places as well. Let's talk about Avenger. This one on damage, 14% chance for 30% critical chance for 8 seconds, plus the usual 1 arcane revive. Now keep in mind that the bonus this arcane provides is additive after. It means it stacks on top of what you already have. So the base critical chance doesn't matter for Avenger, and the bonus will be granted to your primary, secondary, arc gun, melee, basically to everything. The second arcane which I want to point out in this case will be Precision, R3 as before. Arcane Precision on headshot, 80% chance for plus 120% damage to pistols for 8 seconds. Again, a very powerful arcane. And this one, unfortunately, is not going to be ideal on the Akzani, simply because of what I stated earlier. The base damage is really not all that high, so in this case, what we're going to be doing is double stacking Arcane Avenger. Yes, arcanes do double stack. If you still have questions about arcanes, link in the cards right now. I got a full guide on them. So with 2 of these puppies up, I'm going to get 60% critical chance. Considering that my critical chance right now on the Akzani is 40 something, with both of them up, I'm going to get my guaranteed critical chance, so I can take full advantage of that high critical multiplier that right now on the weapon is at 6.9. Not only that, but you're gonna see how powerful Mirage can actually be. We're gonna be unpausing the AI so they can hit me and I can get my buff from Avenger. Now she's also kind of squishy, so there's also that. Her free ability will grant me a sky-high damage increase of 718%, and we're gonna be using her clones as well. Take a look. In just a couple of seconds, I'm able to fully clear house. So as you can see, any weapon, mostly any weapon in Warframe can be made into a full-blown monster, as long as you understand exactly what you're doing with it. If you understand damage properties, vulnerabilities, your targets and so on and so forth, and especially Warframe buffs, you're going to be able to make any weapon you love into a full-blown monster. That is the beauty of Warframe. And I think, my friends, that's pretty much it for the review. I honestly hope this has cleared up some questions for you. From my point of view, the Akzani is a decent weapon. No, it's not one of the best weapons in the game. It can't possibly be, but that doesn't mean you can't make it into a glorious killer. As always, my name is Lazar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.